What's up, guys? Clutch Bank Thursday. You're going to do a Brine King X lacrosse review. So Brine came out with the King head on April 15th of this year. The whole idea behind it was a 3% longer face and a flat scoop to help create the perfect channel for a stringer. They also did a small amount of core technology here. They've been messing around with it a lot recently, different heads trying to get it right. And I feel like this time they actually did something worthwhile. So as you can see, it's just a very small slit on the inside of the sidewalls, and I don't know, it's not going to warp or break or bend on you too fast, which I think is cool. Um, Another cool thing I like about the King head is the throat design. It looks very cool. It's just not ideal for me because when I play attack and I cradle one-handed, I usually hold onto the head, and this is just too beefy for me. Uh, Another thing I don't necessarily like about it is the triangular shape of the head. As you can see, it kind of starts narrow and just gradually goes out. I like heads that are either, jut out and stay the same for a while, or they aggressively jut out. This one's just pretty basic, just slowly comes out. The flat scoop I like because of ground balls, but I dislike when you go to shoot. Typically when you go to shoot, the head's going to flex inward a bit like this, and with a flatter scoop, it's going to take a bit more for the scoop to get to the point you want it to. So I don't necessarily like that. Overall, I think the King's definitely a cool head. I like the idea of it, but I definitely disagree with a couple things. The price point at $110 I think is just too much for a lacrosse head. Granted, heads nowadays are starting to become that price, and I'm sure in the next 2 or 3 years, top line heads are going to be around that price, so can't really do much about that to change it. Another thing is I highly disagree with the whole creating a head that will make the perfect channel. I feel most of that comes from stringing. I mean, yes, the actual design of the head and the shape of the head will help a small amount, but I don't think it's enough to actually change the way a stick is strung or the way a stick will perform. I mean, that's just my personal view. You guys could have one different. But I think it's a good selling point because nowadays so many kids are so focused on making sure their stick looks good, making sure they have a nice channel, and not necessarily worried about actually playing the game and just having a stick that works for them. I know I've gone through that phase a lot where I wanted to have the coolest strung stick or the best strung stick on the team, even though it may not perform the way I wanted to or needed to. So that's a good selling point. The flat scoop, fantastic for ground balls, but not necessarily the best for actually shooting and playing with. Has 20 sidewall holes going down the side, which is fantastic for stringing. Anyone who's like me who just loves stringing sticks, it definitely gives you a lot to play around with. It took me about 3 or 4 tries to get this actual pattern that I could actually feel comfortable using in a game with the King head that still had the kind of perfect channel to it and my basic pocket that I like to use. Also, the throat, I mean, they got a lot going on. There's got this extra jut here, there's big spaces here, whatever this stuff is they put in there, which I tried to figure that out, but I just couldn't. So I feel like that's molded in the head permanently. Overall, core technology, fantastic. String holes, fantastic. Don't agree with the actual stringing a perfect channel in it. So I'll put my actual pattern in the description if you guys ever want to try it out. There's the pocket I kind of go with. It's just a mid to mid-low baggy pocket. There's the channel for you guys. So, I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good channel, but it's not something I'd probably switch to as my game stick. Just because I don't like the King head doesn't necessarily mean you guys won't. So if you have the money, you want to try one out, I stay, go for it. So yeah, overall I think it's a pretty good idea, cool head, but it's just not for me. Now I'll show you guys some of the pre-strung heads that I have. I actually have a good amount this time, so I hope you guys enjoy. So to start off, I have an Evo 4X with a Nighthawks themed pocket. It's got soft mesh, 3 straight purple striker shooters, teal sidewall, nice baggy pocket. I kind of with like a Canadian theme since most box players are Canadian. So it's still college legal for you guys playing with high school rules next year or in college this year. And just a cool color combination plus a fantastic head. So that's for sale. Next I have the Volt CEO with a 6-diamond traditional pocket. Pretty cool setup. I mean, can't go wrong with the CEO or traditional. Next is a Superpower strung with a Maryland theme pocket. I use String King 2S in this. It's got red sidewall strings, red bottom string, 1 nylon, 2 straights for shooting strings. And overall, I think this pocket's fantastic. It's got a lot of hold, a very smooth release, but enough whip to take outside rippers with. So if you're a huge Maryland fan like I am and you like the Superpower, this could be a pretty cool pickup. Then I went with kind of an old school head. I went with the Razor X with a 6-dime traditional pocket using brown leathers. The Razor's been around for years and years, and this is their newest and probably last model of the Razor. So I figured kind of keep it old school design with the brown leathers. Overall, just fantastic pocket for anyone. Next, probably the most sought after head of 2014 and 2015 is the Blade OG. Brand new, strung with brown leathers, 6-dime traditional, white everything else. Pretty nice head. I mean, I don't necessarily like them because I don't take face-offs, but most people go crazy for them, so decided to pick one up and string it up and sell it to you guys. Next is a gray Superpower with a 6-dime traditional, all white everything. I think this looks pretty cool. I really like the idea of the dark gray heads or just gray heads in general. I think that's something cool that the sport's taking up. A couple years ago it was Volt. Now it's starting to get into the gray colors and whatnot, so definitely cool. And then lastly, for traditionals, one of the coolest heads and one of the best remakes in my opinion is the Warrior No Nas. One nylon, one straight, all white everything, 6-dime traditional. This thing is sweet. This is good for any position, defense, attack, midi, even face-off guys, because traditional pockets, they work so nicely in these heads because of the face shape. So I got that. And lastly are 2 replica pockets, or somewhat replica. So this one was supposed to be Matt Kavanaugh's. It was from earlier in the season. He was using something very similar to this. He's been changing it recently. I've noticed in the last couple games he's changed his stick up a couple times. So I won't necessarily call it a replica pocket on the website, but just Optic U, String King 2S, all white everything. Nice baggy low pocket for attack mid, but also shifts up to a bit of a mid pocket for shooter. Definitely something I would use. And lastly, a Notre Dame themed Sergio Perkovic replica. Got the gold and the green top string up here. I'm not sure what they call it. I've heard like 5 or 6 different names, so we'll just call it the double triangle string. Then we got a Kelly green nylon, a navy blue U, our shooter, straight, blue sidewalls, gold in the bottom. This is pretty much what Sergio Perkovic is using right now. Granted, I did change it up a little bit and did knotted SIs as opposed to SIs just to keep it fluid, keep it, I guess, as tight as possible. But that's pretty much what he's using this season, is a nice baggy pocket. This thing has got a decent amount of whip, but perfect for any player that's a Notre Dame fan. So I hope you guys enjoy. Like I was saying, King X head. Cool idea, cool concept. If you're one of those people who is always looking for something new to string and kind of a test, definitely worth it. Don't necessarily think that it's worth the money, but everyone's different. So there's one last look at my King X. So hope you guys enjoy.